All right. All right. Anybody hear me? Got technical difficulties as usual. So Tom here, FlipAnythingUSA. Today, I'm going to talk about Grant Cardone, and we're going to review one of his videos, as long as the internet allows us to do so. So I got to make sure it's even working. Oh, there's Anne-Marie. Hey, Anne-Marie. Can you hear me okay, Anne? And also, cool. Yeah, I'm going to take a minute. Oh, looks like we got 15 people watching. That's good. Let's test the audio real quick here. Man, I've been having poor internet connection, and we'll see how good this works. Let me jump over here real quick. And I guess, I don't know. I think I see what you're saying. Let's see how this works. Can you guys hear this okay?
Hey, love to know who is for opening America up right now. I've written my senator, congressman, city council.
You can hear Grant loud and clear? I don't even know what to do first here. All right. Okay, good. You can hear us both. Okay, so here's the deal. If you're just getting to my, first time you've been here, my name's Tom. I got a book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. Book's been received very well, sells well. I've been a real estate investor for 39 years. I bought my first property when I was 19 years old. I was a millionaire by 28. And of course, that was a very long time ago. And I kind of spend a lot of time showing other people how to make money the same way I have. And I did it for about 3 years. I posted videos and shared. I got hundreds of videos I've done, all real deals that I've made. And y'all know that I do some videos on guys like Grant. And the big difference between Grant and myself is he spends most of his time asking for your money. And he usually recaps when he ends one of his videos, he ends it with, trust me, at Cardone Capital, if you invest with me, I'll do I'm paraphrasing, he'll do his best, rata. I tell you, don't trust me. Don't trust anyone. Don't trust Grant. Don't trust me. Don't trust anybody that stands to make money from you. And I guess that's my biggest issue with Grant is that a lot of stuff he does really is, it's just he spends more time asking for money than he spends time teaching, right? He doesn't really teach much. He talks about himself and he talks about, apartments are the greatest investment in the world and, invest with him. And I say invest your own money and, be the keeper of your own wealth and you'll do way, way better. Yeah, you'll get those emails, you'll get those chapters, don't worry. So let's take a look at this because when I first saw this video, I just thought something kind of smells here. And I'll explain why. He's going to walk us through his property. He's going to walk us through Cardone Capital, his business. And you guys know I've done some videos. It seemed like he was kind of falling apart and, very nervous and upset. And I mean, extremely strange and rude to the people he's talking to. If he ain't a little bitch, if he ain't dumb, and I'm paraphrasing some of the things he said, you can invest with him if you're not, those two things and some others. So, but let's go ahead and check out Grant. Let's watch this a little bit together.
local politicians and said, hey, let's open this bad boy up. Look, there's risk of opening and there's risk of not opening. This normally has 50 people in it. That's one department. This room's being prepared for accounting people to be back in it. Everything's sterilized, ready to go. We got our social distancing set up in our kitchens. We have making all the changes we can. You guys are going to make the changes. What do you say? We open up or we stay closed? Every one of these people need to work.
So I'm going to stop there a second. So he took you into a room and he said, this department normally holds 50 people. This is accounting and this is another room. And he's going to go on to show us some more. So my question is, what do they do? What do they do? What do those employees do? Because he doesn't really get specific as to what these people do, right? But let's watch a little more, because that's the first thing. What do all these people do? What do they do? So let's get on.
Open up America. What do you say? This department right here is a classroom where people come in and learn role play, both at our office and our clients. Send people to train, prep, educate themselves how to be better, how to take care of their customers.
Okay, that one bothers me. Okay, he said, see this classroom. Okay, he didn't say this is where we teach people how to make money, right? He didn't say this is where we teach people, this is where we teach our customers how to make money. In fact, he said role play, right? Role play. And we're going to get to that later. Because what does Grant Cardone, what is he teaching? He's teaching people what? How to close the deal, how to take your money, how to talk you into investing. Maybe it's buying a course, maybe it's closing, and I don't think it's selling books, but I think it's probably, buying his courses, signing up for his seminars, and or investing in Cardone Capital, asking for your money, role play. Like, what does that mean? And we're going to get to that later. Like, what do you do when an old lady calls? What do you tell her to do with her money? Or what do you do when a young man calls and he's got $10,000? Let's role play. How do we talk him out of his money? That's my assumption. I don't know what else you'd be doing. I don't know what these people do, but it didn't sound like they were educators. And he didn't really elaborate, but you go, that's just my thoughts. You tell me what you think, okay?
I'm one little company, one little tiny company. There's 32 million people like me in America that are preparing to reopen and can't, that I believe will do the right things. Accounting people, administrative people, service people, customer satisfaction, shipping, client retention, accounting departments. Look at this. Sad, man. It just kills me. I'm not worried about me. All these people. I can't stay closed forever.
So retention. Don't let them, you got the hook set, don't let them get away. Customer retention. That's okay. Man, I don't have to work on retaining customers. I mean, usually it's word of mouth takes care of that and you get more from it. But these might be, in one of his videos, he kind of was falling apart and he said, oh man, some guy, it sounds like he's talking about one of his clients or one of his investors. And he was kind of saying, oh man, I need my money, Grant. I want to buy a Rolex, and he's getting really pissed off that anybody wants their money back, which kind of goes to my point of why you should not invest in Grant Cardone type of business. And I'm not even singling him out particularly. But when you give your money to somebody else and they have control over your money, guess what? You ain't going to be able to pull any money out. I don't care if you want a Rolex or if you want to buy your mom something or you want to buy a house. You might have money tied up, but guess what? It's not liquid. Okay, it's not liquid. And when it's not liquid, the bank isn't going to loan you any money against it. So, and that's kind of where you want to do with the money, right? And Anne Marie, weren't you a Grant Cardone client, right? Ah, thanks. I appreciate it. The only good thing that came out of Grant Cardone is you found me. Well, that's funny. Thanks. Because here's the other thing. Grant has something like, and I'm here. He's got like 3,200. At least this is what he said. How that ain't looking out. Let's see. Try green. All right. 3,200 investors. I don't know if you can see that. Hang it. Bear with me a second. I'm going to grab another marker. All right. So Grant has 3,200, right? Investors. That's what I've heard him say before. If I'm wrong, maybe I'm a little bit wrong, but from what I understand, he's got a lot of small investors that have brought him in about 300 million or something like that. So let's go back and watch a little more of this video. Then we'll get to the next.
Okay, and I know nobody's saying we should stay closed forever, but look, all these families right here, every one of them has a spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend. We're going to open back up, 100%. We will open back up. But every one of these desks represents somebody at home, mom, a dad, uncle, aunt, somebody else that needs to be working. This isn't just about you or Grant Cardone or just people that are at risk. It's about everybody. Okay, everybody. All these offices represent somebody else, not just you, not just me. So write your senator, write your congressman, write your city council. Hey, let's open up. What are we doing here? You guys are all waiting for the next person to open up. You're waiting for the next governor or senator, the state next to you to open up. Take some risk right now. That's why we elect people. Okay, every one of these represent a desk, which multiplies to about 3.4 people. Every household in America is connected to at least 3 people that are dependent upon it. Let's open up. What you say? Huh? All these desks. Why are you whispering? Let's do it. Let's do it safe. Miss Sherry, she'll do the right thing. See, she's got her mask on. She's ready to go. We're sanitizing everything. We're preparing everything. We're doing our social distancing. I don't need the governor. I don't need the Senate. I don't need the state, the Congress to tell me how to make my place safe. I know what I need to do. I've read the stuff. I'm going to do the 6-foot thing. We're going to have somebody at this desk, somebody 6 feet away, somebody 6 feet from there. Okay, Brian knows what to do. We're going to check the temperatures when people come in. Cardone, I'll do the right thing with you guys. I bet you will. What do you say? Share this. I got $1.4 million worth of payroll in this office. I'm one little guy. Let's get people back to work, okay? Love me or hate me. Hey, at least I got an opinion. Okay? Even the gorilla says, let's roll.
All right. So again, what was absent was what do those people do for a living, right? So he basically described he describes his office, right? He's got an office. Okay. I think another one he said is 20-something thousand square feet. And he's got sales, right? He's got accounting. Another one, I think he said he's got a lawyer. He's got retention, customer retention. And then he's got the training room that was for role play, is what he said. Role play. But yeah, and he kind of threw in there some education. I don't know. Didn't sound like anybody goes to Cardone University like to be taught, except taught how to close a deal. And listen, I got nothing. And to be honest, I don't know. There's some of the stuff what he said as far as the city closing things down. I think some of it's ridiculous. I think every time it's a political year, the side that doesn't have the power of the presidency There we go. Thank you. All right, guys. Okay. So back to where we were. Look at this is how this thing starts. Listen to this.
I'm not too important of a CEO, whatever that even means, to not do this, because this is the lifeblood of the organization.
My goal is to meet as many people on this planet.
So I'll spare you this beginning here, but we'll go right back to the call where he starts the call. All right. So basically, somebody handed off a call. They couldn't close the deal. And this is the training room, right? The role play. So this is what a classroom's for at Cardone University, or at least one of the reasons. So let's take a look.
Grant Cardone.
The man himself.
Come on, man. Hey, let me tell you why I'm calling. All right, you got a second?
Yep.
I got 2 questions. You got a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, second question. Why didn't you buy our product? Why didn't you buy our product?
That's a good question.
It is.
And as I told the gentleman I was talking to, I'm very much sold on the product. Right now, though, I'm in the middle of a restructuring in our business, so I kind of been waiting for the right time to implement such a product.
Of course. And what would that right time? What would that look like to you?
The right time, I would say, would be September, early September.
Okay, good.
A lot happening between now and then.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. A lot happening for a lot of people right now. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What do you, when we get started in September, what do you hope that the product will do for you? You want more sales? You want to make more money? You want to have a better organization?
Okay, so good question.
It is the second good question of the day.
Yeah, we have a growing sales team. I want to create this kind of unanimous approach where everyone's using the same approach to generate more leads and close deals quicker. You know, we work in high-end furniture and lighting.
Yeah.
So our clients are architects and interior designers. They often have to wait on price approval.
So,
So, you know, sometimes that's tricky for us. How do we incentivize them to close quicker?
To close quicker.
Kind of guarantee that we're in there.
Yeah, the exact reason you're giving me is the number one objective.
Exactly.
It's crazy. It's freaking like Freudian shit. So look now let's say I get you generate more leads, we create a great culture, and we close more sales. Financially, what would you hope for this to do for you?
Like I said, financially, from what I was told, this will increase my sales by 20 or 30%, which is great. I love
Yeah, and how much money would that quantify if I hit the top mark, 30%?
That could be about 2 to 3 million.
Okay, 2 to 3 million a month, or 2 to 3 million a year?
A year.
Okay, that's $800,000 a month.
Yeah.
So we got. What are we in right now? Is this June 15th or 16th, something like that? July, August, September. That's 2 months. 2 times 800. How much is that?
needs help with that.
Dude, it's going to cost you $1.6 million to wait.
You're right.
If I guarantee you we make you $1.6 million in the next 60 days, would you start today?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have my guy call you back. All right.
Look, Grant, I appreciate you calling, and I love your passion.
Yeah.
And it's so, and people like you who are so behind their product inspires me to go ahead and learn more from you.
Let's do it. Okay, let's do it. Hey, can I count on you to get started now?
Yeah, let's do it.
You're the man. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Bye bye.
Wow. He closed.
Thank you, Jared, for giving me your dad.
No.
No, that's not Jared's dad, but I mean, look, sometimes that's all it takes.
Okay, so look, let me tell you what's so silly about that. He owns the company. You hear that? Oh, he closed the deal. He pulled it out. This is like when you're at the car lot and the guy says, hey, come on, they're trying to talk you into buying the car. And you say, it's too much. They say, well, let me go talk to my manager. Well, the manager's Grant Cardone, right? And then they disappear and he says, just keep, give him a little bit off, And then all of a sudden in this one, Grant's the hero. He comes in and closes the deal. Well, so I relate to this a little bit in as much as I have leasing agents that work for me, right? Leasing agents that lease my properties out. They lease offices. I have one full-time that works for me, and then I have other ones that, regularly lease some of my properties when they come available, and I give them 4%. So if they bring a lease that's worth $300,000, they get $12,000 from me. It's actually, if you get into the business of real estate, being a leasing agent is really a good way to get the cash flow coming in pretty quickly, because you don't necessarily have to wait on a sale. There's just like, it can be as lucrative as being a real estate agent doing sales, just so you know. A lot of people don't know that, but it is a good thing. And it puts you closer to people like me that have a lot of money, that are in the business of selling and buying big buildings, and you can learn a lot from guys like me. But what I really don't like about this thing is and I do like it too. He basically showed you what his classroom is for, right? He's showing you that the classroom at Cardone University isn't about teaching you. It's about teaching his people to talk people into buying his product. Now, in that case, it looks like it's a course. Maybe it's, it sounds like it's a course. And to be honest, in fairness, I think a lot of people, I saw a biker the other day that had a 10 times shirt. I think Grant's strengths are not as an investor. I don't think he's a great investor. But his strengths are, and he's a great salesman, and I think he can teach people a lot about being a good salesman. But to the point of this particular sales call is when he closed that sale, that's nothing what he did. It's nothing. It's nothing special. And I'll tell you why. He's the boss. Did you hear what he said? He said, if I can promise you that you're going to, do $1.6 million more, or he promised, if I can promise you, listen, nobody promises, nobody guarantees anybody anything, because you don't know the capacity of the person you're selling the merchandise to. And believe me, when he hands off the call to Johnny or Jimmy or whoever, goes back, in other words, nobody in the room can make that promise or make that guarantee or make that offer that he did, because they would get him in hot water. And he didn't either. He said, if I can promise you, right? He's careful with his words. If I can promise you I can double it, will you do it? He said, yes, sir. Okay, like it's a deal. Well, guess what? The guy's going to get on the phone. He's going to say, if he's smart, he's going to say, well, Grant just guaranteed me he could double my sales. If the guy's smart enough to do that, because that's what he said. If I can tell you, promise you you're going to double your sales, will you buy the product? And he said, sure. Then it gets handed back to the guy. Well, that guy is not going to guarantee he's going to double his sales. It's just not going to happen. Of course, Grant can do a follow-up and show us. But that's my point. And, it's same thing with leasing agents. I'll say, hey, I just got this one leased. I just got this one leased. Nellie, who works for me, told me the other day in a text. I do a lot of texting, more than anything. That's how I manage most of my business. And she said, oh, wow, you got that one leased. That's great. Well, I said, no, you're a great leasing agent. Okay. You're showing the space, you're telling the people all the benefits of the property, and you get them to buy. That's great. Or you get them to, to do the lease. I have a huge advantage over all the other leasing agents. I can cut a deal. I can say, you know what, I'll take $500 off, or I'll take $1,000 off, or, I'll give you a month free. So I close the deal. I close the deal better than anybody else because I own the property. And that's all you just saw him do. He's got a huge advantage over everybody in the room. Of course, everybody works for him. They're all going to kiss his butt and smile. Anyways, that's just how that works. So, all right. My point is, Cardone University, I think you can kind of see it's a boiler room for sales. It's all about selling his product. Every day I tell you, don't trust me. Don't trust anybody that stands to make any money from you. I sell you a book, a $10 book or a $20 book, depending on what form you buy it in. It's a pretty safe bet. For all I know, you can get your money back from Amazon if you weren't happy, but a lot of people are happy. Anyways, who's got a real estate question? You guys want to go on to another topic? That was kind of like watching paint dry to me, that last little bit. Hope I didn't lose everybody. And we'll go ahead and get rid of this screen. Okay. Hey, Joe. Good, man. Welcome to the club. Your first time here. Be sure to, sign on, subscribe. I got to plug in so I don't lose you. Bear with me 1 second. All right. So we've had terrible internet. I hope it doesn't happen again. If it does, we'll just hang it up. But so if you just got here, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. That's my book. I do some mentoring now, and it was by demand. And you can ask people that have taken my mentoring. And that's another thing. Like I say, he's got 3,200 investors. You'd think maybe he'd have one or two come up and say how great it is to invest with Cardone Capital. I haven't seen any. I've seen one person on here. Actually, I got Anne-Marie and other people say how terrible, how much money they felt like they wasted. But you know what? Buyer beware. Go figure it out. Go figure it out. But one of the key things is that you go investing your money into Grant Cardone, the group that I can see. This is my issue. If you go invest, you give him the down payment. He creates an entity. That money goes in. That entity stands on its own. The down payment that is from the people that invest buys, that's what's at risk to borrow the other 75%, according to him, from what I've seen, that gets the property. So now you've got all you are is you're the down payment. You're the 25% down that gets the loan. If that asset crumbles, your money's gone. And if you need to pull your money out, you got nothing. If you need to borrow against your whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it equity in Cardone Capital, a bank ain't gonna loan you any money on that. Look, if you own a piece of real estate and you own the real estate, you control it, you control the asset, and you got great equity, you can borrow against your equity in a piece of property that you control. But you can't really borrow money against the equity in a piece of property that you have zero control. Okay. And that's would be the tragedy. I'd hate for somebody young to, take their first 10 grand and tie it up. And then, it's like you're stripped of your seed capital. That's the money you need to make more money and redouble. Pretty soon you got 100 grand, and then you buy something big and you keep it and you got income coming in. And then, maybe you got a good job that you make money, and you can take some of that capital and rebuy the next. And then, you just build upon that. So anyhow, let me get to some questions here. All right, let's go. Kevin, go ahead. You got a question? Doesn't have anything to do with the book. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I am high on commercial property, by the way. Yes, I am. I'm looking at it. All right, Kevin, I'll wait for your question while I talk to other people here. Okay, Joe, love your content. You were dead on with your assessment of Grant. Thanks. Yeah, all right. All right, who's got a question? I can tell you, what, I just did a walkthrough. I looked at it, I'm like crazy. I mean, I've been selling off my houses. You guys, if you follow me, you know that I'm selling whatever, 8 or 10 houses, it just depends. I'm kind of watching, I think, listen, the only thing I'm sure of, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the economy right now. We have a great economy. It's been super strong. Everything's been great. But there's a big piece of it that's been affected, mostly the service industry, it seems to me, and the hotels, which if they're not considered one and the same. Oh, hey, Ellie. Well, you got here, I think, at a good time. We had some trouble earlier. So glad you're here. Ellie's in the mentorship program, as is several other people that are in here. And man, Ellie's a go-getter. Let me tell you, she does all the right things. Okay. Oh, hey, Lou. Great. Glad you're here, Lou. So Lou, actually, we're going to talk about that data stuff. I was playing with some of that. And, I do like the data for covering a wide swath if I was going to go outside the state. So anyways, we'll talk about that some more, Lou. Yeah, JR, let me tell you, owner financing is the greatest thing on earth because you don't need a loan. You don't need to qualify. You could have bad credit and get in, the property you're buying is the is the collateral. And, if you put enough down, the owners are going to feel comfortable. But it's a great way. That's how I bought my first property when I was 19 years old. I had no credit. I remember trying to get, God, it was called Norwest Financial or some horrible ripoff. But my first loan, I bought it to buy a little Datsun flatbed truck because I had a cabinet shop. So I needed a little truck. And they gave me a loan and it was like 27%. Okay, it was a ridiculous interest rate. But back there, to buy a house or a property or a piece of land was 10%. You know, I mean, in general, and it was coming down from whatever it was before that. But by the time I got into the real estate game, it was in the upper tens. And I bought my first home. I got a 9 1/4 or 9 1/8. It was 9 1/4, but they took off an eighth because I opened up an account within the company, within the bank. Yeah, the lease option. I mean, listen, a lease option can be powerful if you utilize it the right way. But you got to have an out. And to be honest, leases are really more for the tenant than they are for the owner. Believe me, my banks, ever since 2009 and the bank crisis, I borrowed $3 million just before that. Right before that, I borrowed $3 million and I was paying, I think, 5.5%. 6 months later, my interest rate dropped 3%. I was paying 2.5%. So I was saving $90,000 a year in interest, but I was probably losing $150,000 a year, but that offset most of it, But with a lease option, if you have it written right, sometimes you could just pull out and walk away. The other powerful things with lease options, these people that are doing the Airbnbs, if they have an escape route, because like in a popular place in California, the Airbnbs, of which I've rented many there, I pay about $5,000-6,000 a week. It's near the beach, and they outlawed it. The council said no more short-term rentals. The shortest short-term rental you can get now is 3 months, and so I guarantee you, those 3 months would be normally bringing in about $75,000 in the summertime at the beach. My guess is now they're bringing in 30,000. Cut the income in half on those things. In fact, I may buy a house. I may buy a place down at a certain beach area that I'm fond of in California. I've owned a beach property before in California, or I should say I flipped one, but I had it for 6 months for free while we were in escrow. Hey, from England, Eddie, welcome. At what point would you start to think of purchasing more real estate? Man, I'm looking right now, but you got to remember, I have, again, our economy didn't blow up and pop because of a bubble. It went down because of COVID. So plenty of people are still working, a lot of professional people. I mean, the people that probably make the most money are working still. It's the service industry and the people that really just the service industry, in my opinion, seems to be hurt the most. And I'm talking about tourism. I was going to take a trip here next week, and, my kids said they were afraid of COVID, which, whatever. Everybody's got, I don't think they got anything to worry about. The deaths have gone down to, almost nothing. If you're under 70, you're really not at risk unless you have some other problems. In my opinion. Oh, did they change their tune? Everybody started changing their tune lately? Ellie, is that what you're saying? Yeah. Yeah, well, they probably did. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. The deal is these guys that are, like I said, most of these people that are telling you or teaching you try to how to do this stuff have never done it. It's hypothetical to them, and it's a whole different ballgame when you're teaching. When somebody that you learn from somebody that's never done it before, you're missing a lot of information. But I'm sure that's true. Okay, so yeah, sorry, Eddie, back to your question. I'm already looking right now, but one of my motivations is I got about 700,000 right now that just came in today. Today's Friday. I signed early yesterday and things closed today. So I got $700,000 that I need to I'm going to end up paying 25% tax on it if I don't reinvest it in something. And I'm looking at commercial. I'm tapping all the brokers that I know, many of them, and just trying to see if anybody's got anything. And I wouldn't mind buying a piece of land. My first choice would be to buy a piece of commercial or, even a piece of industrial property or office. Office, maybe not quite so much right now, but it doesn't matter. It depends. Believe me, everybody ain't working at home. A lot of people can switch it up and change it up, and it does work. I know some people that this has motivated them to close their office. An architect, or I should say not an architect, an engineer I met the other day, I had to have him look at some structural stuff that I needed to get his blessing on. Which, by the way, if you're doing your remodeling, make sure you always get a structural engineer to prove anything you do that is structural. Something breaks and somebody gets hurt, you don't want that on you. Yeah, Tommy, I don't need any help right now. That's the other good thing I'll tell you about being a real estate investor. You're a one-man show, and that's what I keep telling everybody. Just be a one-man show. The advantages, you just don't. You only have yourself to count on. You know what I mean? Because people fail you. People don't show up. People, I've had people that have all kinds of problems. They go through a divorce. I used to have a kid that worked for me, and I could tell if he was going to be doing well or not that day. As soon as he walked in, he had a fight with his girlfriend. I could tell. His head's in his hands. Whole day's ruined. Totally unproductive. Those are the kinds of things you got to deal with when you have employees. Not in every sense. I mean, and it's okay if it's occasional, but some people are, just constant drama. So that I don't want. But myself, I can be a little depressed, but I can work through it. And that's one of the things I think I like best about real estate. You can always work. You can always work. Good times or bad times. You're always going to buy your deals relevant to today's market. And that means, if it was worth more last month, then that's fine. But don't apply that to today. If values went down, you got to buy it based on what it is today. Unless you want to be a speculator, which I'm not game for that myself. What is a good way to learn about vacant land, lot values? Yeah, get my book, JR. That's the best way. I can't answer the most basic questions. You just get the book. Hey, Roberto. Yes. Yeah, I bought 3 apartment buildings. And I made a lot of money. I bought, it's in the book, I think. I bought a 13 unit and I bought a 21 unit, and I made at least $1.5 million on those. I bought them for $10,000 a unit, so that's $340,000. Of course, I put some money in them, but they made money, and I held them for a few years. But I sold those for $55,000 a unit. So what do we got? 50 times 34. That's 1.7 plus another 170. So I sold it for almost 1.9 million, and I paid $340,000. Yeah, pretty good deal, right? The other one, I think I paid 24 units, and I want to say I paid this is the one I paid $400,000 for. I was trying to get it for $320,000, but I ended up getting it for $400,000. But the reason I went to $400,000 is because they allowed me to go from 7% interest down to 3%, which in the end I made more money. Do you advise to depreciate the property to save on taxes? How does it impact you when you sell the property? Well, listen, when you depreciate, you're going to take it against the profits or, the income. But in the end, like these houses that I'm selling right now, like I paid $220,000, sold it for $560,000. So there's $340,000 profit, but it's depreciated to zero. It's one I've held for a while. So really it's a full $390,000 in profit. And so I have to defer it. Otherwise I'm going to get hit for at least 25% tax on that thing. Okay, Kevin, looking at a home for a flip. Is this the best time to buy? It doesn't really matter, Kevin. I mean, listen, if things were dropping like this, just dropping, I wouldn't buy. But if it starts to soften out and you feel like you're kind of going into the, into the valley, Buy here. If you think it's down here, then buy here because you're going to be going back up. Just go ahead and draw it. So, yeah, I don't like buying here. This is no, not here. Not when it's going down real fast, okay? I think you can see that. But if it starts to taper and it starts to soften and you get those indications, and, I don't know your capacity to judge things. People ask me, should I or should I not do certain things? And a lot of that, what they're asking me, it requires more information for me to make a good decision because I don't know how smart you are or how capable you are or how much money you make. Can you deal with a downturn? So those are things, but it's pretty safe if you're going to buy, start buying when it's leveling out. And that's already kind of how I feel about this downturn, to be honest, because, we kind of froze more than anything. And I can tell you, I saw properties drop some. I mean, I sold some of mine cheaper than I would have, okay? Because I don't want to get caught in a downturn. And if you've ever been, when you've been through, several downturns in your lifetime, you just go, I'll make more, I don't care. I don't want to be scrambling for money, okay? I don't want to, what do they say, rob Peter to pay Paul? And believe me, I've had lots of that in my life. I've been a high leverage guy. I've leveraged a lot of money, made a lot of money. I've never gone bankrupt. I gave one piece of property back I talk about, but again, it didn't cost my credit, didn't hurt anything, just, hurt my feelings and hurt my pocketbook a little bit. That was a long time ago. But again, back to this is, if you're coming back up, then, it's always a lot safer to buy here, right? When things are going up. Because it's kind of a hedge. You buy it, but sometimes by the time you close, you get a long enough escrow, it's worth more than you paid for it, and 3 months later, it's worth quite a bit more. But I think we're doing something more like this. You know what I mean? We're not going down that far. And, the politics, because I think politics weigh in on a lot of stuff right now. Maybe that's what we're looking at, like that. You know what I mean? This is like nothing. It's not much of a drop. I don't know, though. I'm not going to tell you. A lot of people, I see a lot of these dodos that, claim to be smart, make predictions, and they're wrong. Oh, Bitcoin, you're going to make so much money with Bitcoin. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. And then, and some of these guys that make $1 million a year on YouTube, they make these bold predictions and they lose their ass. But the problem is it's all the little guys that followed them that only have 5 or 10 or 15,000 that makes up all their savings. And they lose that, because some idiot that makes $1 million a year, decided he wanted to be the upside for it is they make a prediction and, they got a 50-50 chance of being right. Well, then they're right. Well, then they look like a genius. But again, all I can tell you is the only thing I know for sure is that I don't know. But I do know this. As long as you're going to flip it and you're buying it relative to today's market, whatever that is, today's or next month's market, because there's a difference, then you're safe. Just, sometimes COVID came out of nowhere. A friend of mine was in the middle of selling a big apartment complex and he still sold it. These guys weren't afraid of it. They weren't paying attention to the news. My friend was terrified. They nicked him for another $30,000 last minute before it closed. He's so happy. It was at 90% when he sold it. Now it's at 70%. I know Grant Cardone will talk about how things are so bulletproof. I don't believe it. I think he's taken a hit on his apartments. He hasn't talked about it. He hasn't said everything stayed great. I don't know. But, maybe, I don't know. But the bottom line is what I don't like about the Grant Cardone model is that you're giving him money for the down payment. You know what I mean? And it sounds like he makes his spread, his margin on the borrowed money. So anyhow. Let's see what else you got. I wouldn't know how to put my book in the Apple Store, to be honest. I'm gonna have a audio version out eventually, if you like Audible stuff. So, yeah, Kevin, do you have my book? Because really, these questions you're asking for $10, you could just get the answers. Wait another 3 months, Kevin, and see what the eviction for. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't think there's ever a reason to wait. You just look at. You got to know the market. You got to know the market. That's why I say, Kevin, nothing against what you're saying, but everybody's market's not the same in the USA. One of the main places I'm investing right now, it's not hurt that bad at all. But that doesn't mean it isn't, more devastated somewhere else. And it might be just related to the industry. I don't know, how, if people are, if the farming has been damaged much, I don't have to be concerned with it. I don't really concern myself too much with stuff that doesn't affect me either. I look at my situation because this is my little geographic area. It might be 50 miles, I'm making money inside this little 50 mile diameter perimeter. So I'm fine. Oh, thanks, no one. Kevin's, oh, good. Well, yeah, believe me, a lot of people have the book and they haven't read it. Some people are actually in my mentorship and haven't read the book completely, which is kind of funny, but it's not the best place to be. It's a prerequisite if you're going to take my mentorship. You got to read the book. You got to have it. You got to know it. You have to read it. But obviously some slip through the cracks, but they're making up for it. Yeah, the COVID-19 loan, listen, I heard today or something, Grant got a $5 million check, and I don't know if it's true or not. Believe me, Ben Mala got a check like that too. Guess what? I got a check. Those guys, Ben Mala has got 800 employees, I think, in those apartments, but in his apartments, and Grant, for a couple hundred employees, whatever he has. I don't know exactly how many people he employs, but this is probably one of the smartest things the government did is they let guys like me that employ people. They said, look, you can't come and get in an employment line, go to the unemployment line. So what they did is they just said, we're going to give Tom, we're going to give you and Ben, Mala, and Grant, we'll give you guys a loan. And as long as you use 75% of it on payroll, we're going to forgive it. We're going to forgive all or most of it. And so, here's a check. This is one for one of my companies. Okay, let's see if I can see that. I see that. Whatever. 106,000. Okay, that's 106,000 basically for that company. That's 2 months payroll for the people that work in the building. And what happened with me is I just let everybody. I said, look, just work 50% of the time, work half time, 4 hours a day. That business got shook a little bit. Some people I said that, the machine shop stuff, the manufacturing, we could still keep that going. I let those guys work full time. And, my first reaction is that the guys that work full time, take a little bit of a hit on their check. The people that I put on part time, they don't take a hit, but they're taking a hit because they're working part time. These are just prudent things to do. But then this program came out, and I, immediately we were probably the first ones to file for it. And I told everybody that was working 4 hours a day, I said, look, everybody's getting paid for 8 hours a day. Nobody's taking a hit on anything. No, because that's what this is for. And so I was able to keep everybody employed that I could, and they're getting paid. And now things have gotten much more closer to normal than they were before. I have tenants that have expanded. I'm excited about that. I have one tenant that just jumped from, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 a month to $6,500 a month, I think is the new rent. But they got a bigger space. They stayed with me, went to another building that I have. And these are the kinds of things that are pretty cool. Some businesses flourished in these bad times. Look at Zoom, right? Oh, Zoom, incredible product, amazing. I got that. I'm using it in the mentorship on the weekends now, and I love it. The quality blows my mind. It's amazingly good. What else we got? Yeah, there you go, Anne Marie. Read the book and then join the next chat. Yeah, it really will save you a lot of time. You read the book. It's a quick read. It's an easy read. It's an interesting read. I can't write fluff. Listen, I'm somebody that I grab a book, I skim, and I read what's interesting, and then I chuck it. Because they're just trying to fill it. You know what I mean? It's like adding oatmeal to hamburger to make it thicker. You know what I mean? Make it look more substantial. But it's oatmeal. There's no oatmeal in it. It's all beef, right? It's all beef. So Let's see. Oh, JR, well, then this is the place to ask. Go ahead. I don't know what's unclear, but I'm always, what's nice is a lot of people that have read my book or watched my videos for a time, they'll actually end up answering the questions that a lot of people ask here. Thanks, Alex. I'm glad you like it. Can you get a free copy? I don't know. Not for me. Let's see. May I email you a deal? Yeah, Alex, go ahead. But I'll tell you, my email is really full. And, I go through it kind of quick. And, I don't, I can do this. I can talk much faster than I can type, especially on my cell phone. All right. All right. Any more questions? Yeah. Eric, Tony Robbins, I don't know Dean Grazioso, but listen, Tony Robbins is unless he's changed venues, he was more of a motivation guy. And I think people that sell motivation are fine. They're not asking you for money other than for their, their motivational stuff. And I can tell you right now, the greatest motivational speaker there is, Jim Rohn, okay? Jim, Jim, Rohn, Rohn. I think he taught Tony Robbins or those guys. I guarantee you they followed him, He's just amazingly good. But he's not going to teach you how to make money. He might teach you to keep your nose to the grindstone and work. Yeah, I don't hate Grant Cardone, but I just, listen, we're in business. We talk straight. If somebody has something bad to say about my book or the way I invest, they do. And I can defend it. And I'm sure GC can too. All right. Well, hey, I actually got barbecue to go to today, and it's 4:30, and I got to pay somebody. So I'm gonna kill it here. Is it true you can defer your property taxes on investment rental property? Yeah, talk to your CPA about that one, Justin. I don't know. All right. No, Jared, it doesn't. I'm not hating, number one. I'm being objective. In fact, we call it playing the devil's advocate. I do it all the time. If you can